Welcome. Well, it's been called a lot of things, whether it's act your wage, downsizing your career, downshifting, quiet quitting, bare minimum Mondays, lazy girl jobs. Take your pick. But I wrote a blog last year about the rise of the dumb job and how it transcends from quiet quitting to people putting a pause or a hard stop, so to speak, on doing extra behaviors at work, taking on extra tasks, amping up their career, embracing whatever it is that their team, that their culture needs, and how this isn't happening at a great time, right? We have increasing rates of retirees, we have a lot of technological shifts and changes. And so, what are some simple ways that we can help engage our workforce and make sure we don't have people putting a stop on engaging and doing more and making work their passion in a healthy way? Well, one simple thing that we often forget is the idea of job crafting. So, what is job crafting? Well, it's not a woo-woo concept. It's simply allowing employees to take a look at their own skills, their abilities, their passions, what interests them, what brings them the most joy in meeting, and align that with what the organization needs. We have some processes through growth journeys, through development exercises, where teams can take a look at where their strengths are and how they can be maximized even more, and how also, in kind, they can maybe tackle their vulnerabilities or triangulate those with others on their team. So, just thinking about that, is there any way that you could give more flexibility in tasks, or that you could empower your managers to actively seek to understand where their team is at? The next piece I would say is building trust. We still have a trust gap, and trust needs to come before engagement. So, again, ways that we can follow through and show that we're doing what we say we're going to do, and that your leadership teams are doing what they say they're going to do. When there's that trust in place, it creates a fertile environment for people to begin to have passion, to begin to connect and engage. And they'll connect and engage with a purpose and vision. So, how could your purpose, your values, your mission be more clearly articulated? What are some ways that are easy to execute that your teams could make your mission and your culture ever present even more in your organization? Could it be talking about something at a meeting, carefully identifying how a certain project or goal supports your mission and vision? How can you bring that to life? And lastly, how can you maximize data? Data is our friend. And how can we take manager feedback, looking at where people are struggling, even having just a quick conversation, depending on the size of your organization, just a conversation with leaders on what are some obstacles we could remove, some barriers, some of those organizational constraints, whether it's technology that's getting in the way, work processes that are getting in the way, what's blocking people from feeling excited and be able to go about their tasks in a fluid, easy, more effective way. And so if we can stay on top of what people are thinking and feeling, we can start to shape what they'll do. So, in addition to stopping the dumb job, we got to get people in to the job that are going to be successful. And at the heart of any hiring process is the interview. It's where we talk, it's where we connect, and it's where we make the biggest decisions about how we're going to grow and expand and sustain our teams. Unfortunately, the majority of companies report that they struggle with both the consistency as well as the effectiveness of their interviewing. And, there has to be a better way, and there is, and that is having structure to your interview process. So, starting with that groundwork, we talk about this a lot, starting with your competencies, performance dimensions. What are the elements that are required for the role? So, if you're just getting started out, just thinking about what are some of the core areas, how would you define them, of clusters of skills, abilities, other characteristics that are required, and then outlining how you're going to measure them. So having a test bank, or not a test bank, a question bank of different interview questions that hiring managers, recruiters can use for the candidate at each different interview. And so this gives your interview teams a little bit of flexibility. They have some flexibility in the questions, but they're all around the same caliber. They're all around the same level of difficulty and measuring a specific competency. Then the next step to have a fully structured interview is to have a set way of scoring. So again, you going back to even just your quick outline, if you're just starting out or doing this for one position quickly, what does that competency look like? What does an answer look like that's going to exceed expectations, go above and beyond, show someone who has strong potential in that area, be the standard for meeting expectations and below. And then if you have more than one interviewer, awesome. That's great for building an effective process, but you want your two interviewers to score the interview separately and then come together to talk about their answers and come to a consensus, ideally within 1 point of one another or just coming to a final decision for ratings. And then, of course, how are you going to handle all of the different competencies that you've evaluated and come to a final decision? Perhaps it's okay to have one question or one competency where maybe questions were scored, the response was a little lower, but no more than that. And just having that consensus, even if it's a simple process, even if it's just having some questions and starting with a scoring rubric, that can make a tremendous difference in your effectiveness as well as your efficiency of how you interview. And structured interviewing happens to be one of my team's passions. We've integrated it to applicant tracking systems. So interview forms are ready to go right there. So you can click and see all your candidate information and then click right into the interview form. And then we can also, on an ongoing basis, help you validate the interview and make sure that it's getting you the results and the candidates that you need to grow high performing teams. So with that, I'll conclude my quick 2-point 1-2 how to target 2025 with some basics, the tackling the dumb job, which is really all about building trust, getting after that engagement, and also how do we do a better job at hiring by targeting the heart of the process, the interview, and making it structured. Here's to 2025 and more insights to come.